Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy over here for the Daily Blob, where you say, oh my golly, can you believe this application that says it doesn't log what users are doing actually logged what users were doing and that information was compromised? It's almost like a terms of service is essentially worthless on the internet. Surprise, surprise, surprise! So anyways, I think this is an interesting story, not because women are being talked about badly or whatever else. This is just an example of when you go online and sites ask you for information and they tell you they're not logging or whatever else, to realize that they can be logging. I think about this before when I used to talk about VPN services and why I wouldn't trust VPN services in many contexts. And I had viewers out there saying, but Eli, this is a non-logging VPN service. And as I would always say, how do you know? They state it is a non-logging VPN service, but how would you know whether it was logging or whether it wasn't logging? And the fact of the matter is, unless you understand how their infrastructure works, unless you can see how their infrastructure is working and being able to audit it, you have no idea what the company is doing with the information that passes through their system. So this is an important thing to be thinking about, whether it's VPN logging, whether it's API calls. Anytime you push data through somebody else's service, you have no idea how they're actually using that data at the end of the day. One of the reasons that I argue that you should at the very least obfuscate information, data that is going through services, so that you can at least make it a little bit difficult for their AI bots to figure out what you're doing. So anyways, this is coming from the BBC and many other sites. Hackers steal images from women's dating safety app that vets men. So there was an app out there called the T app. And basically what this app allowed women to do is they allowed them to put men into the system and then basically rate the men. It's a Yelp for men, which, to be clear, I'm actually not snarky against. I'm actually not arguing against the fundamental concept of this app, right? So there's women out there, they're trying to figure out whether they should be able to trust men or not. Let's face it, I'm a man. Men are men. Come on now, men are men, right? And so they want to know, is this guy actually married? Is this guy, or is this person catfishing me? Is it an actual person on the other side of it, right? All of that kind of stuff. So basically they were able to create an account on the system. They were able to put in these men's information or their pictures or whatever else and try to, in a crowdsourced way, vet the men. Which, it is as it is. There are people that are for this, and there are detractors, whatever else, right? But the issue is, right, for this app, they were thinking about it from a security standpoint, and they're like, okay, if we're going to create an app to vet men, how are we going to keep the hackers out? How are we going to keep the nefarious people out? How are we going to keep the guys out from crapping on other guys, right? And so they said, well, what if we have the women take pictures of themselves and actually even take pictures of their government photo IDs so that we can verify that the user is actually a woman and who they are, right? And the idea being is that the women would take these pictures, they would be vetted, and then the pictures would be deleted. Yeah, what happens if the pictures don't get deleted? Not only that, what happens if additional information is taken? Apparently, geographic information was taken about these women. So what if you had the geographic information about these women and the pictures of these women, and then that got compromised? Wouldn't that be kind of funny? And that apparently is what's happened with the T app. We take a look here at the BBC. A dating safety app that allows women to do background checks on men and anonymously share red flag behavior has been hacked, exposing thousands of members' images, posts, and comments. T Dating Advice, a US-based women's-only app with 1.6 million users, said there have been, quote, unauthorized access to 72,000 images submitted by women. Some included images of women withholding photo identification for verification purposes, which T's own privacy policy promises are deleted immediately. Can you believe a web app didn't keep up with their promises? Shocking, I say. After authentication, T said the breach affected members who signed up before February 2024. It added it had acted fast and was, quote, working with some of the most trusted cybersecurity experts. Yeah, too bad they weren't working with those cybersecurity experts, 2 weeks ago. T lets women check whether potential partners are married or registered sex offenders, as well as run reverse image searches to protect against catfishing, where people use fake online identities. But one of the most controversial aspects of T is that it allows women to share information on men they have dated to quote, avoid red flags, but also highlight those with green flag qualities. The company said the breach photos, quote, can in no way be linked to posts within T. I do wonder about that. One of the things to be thinking about with these images. So when you have the initial image that you upload, many times when you upload that image, that has meta tag information. So if you have an iPhone, normally it strips out a lot of those meta tags. But if you're using Android or some other camera or whatever else, the meta tags that go up can literally have GPS identification on it, plus a whole bunch of different information. So one of the things to be thinking about is in the process of processing images. If the image is uploaded and then the image itself is saved, so the image that gets uploaded is saved, and then you're looking at that image from an administrative standpoint, all of the meta tag, that meta information is there, including what could possibly be literal GPS information and that type of thing. If, on the other hand, when the person uploads the image, it's put into a temporary data store, and then you use something like FFmpeg to try to, let's say, compress the image quality. That's a lot of times what you would do with something like Instagram or whatever. At that point, the meta information would basically disappear, because the new image, it would be a new image. It would not be the old image. And so one of the things to be thinking about here is when these people took these pictures and it got uploaded, was the original image that got uploaded, is that the thing that was compromised, or was a copy, like a compressed version or whatever, was that the thing that was compromised? Because this does start to get very concerning. Imagine a woman has her picture, has her photo ID, has the meta information. If all of that was compromised, that would just not be a happy thing. The firm blocks screenshots so that posts are not shared outside the app. I love how a lot of these companies nowadays say, we block screenshots. Yeah, but here's the thing. I can take my phone, and then I can use something else to take the picture. People do understand how technology works, right? I know it's only 2025. I know technology, like computers, is a brand new thing, like smartphones. Ooh, those have only been around for, 30 years at this point. But you can just take a picture. You know how that works. So anyways, one of the things they say is, it's security. People can't take screenshots. It doesn't mean the image cannot be taken anyway. Anyways, but on Friday, it also admitted that an additional 59,000 images from the app showing posts, comments, and direct messages over 2 years ago were accessed. T said, quote, we're taking every step to protect this community now and always. No, obviously you aren't. Obviously, you're not. Wouldn't it be funny if the person running this piece of shit app was actually a man? Wouldn't it be funny if a man who's trying to quote unquote protect women failed miserably at basic security? That would be hilarious. Spoiler alert, this is run by a man. Spoiler alert, this is run by a man that was trying to protect his mom, and so he created this app as a way to protect all these women, and then he didn't do his fucking job. The basics. He didn't do the basics that are required for cybersecurity to make sure that the women were actually protected. Imagine a piece of shit white knight tech bro trying to protect the women who can't do his own fucking job and fails so miserably their data is now out on the internet. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny? So no, this horseshit, we're taking every step to protect this community now and always. Obviously not. Obviously, the tech bro can't accept the fact that he failed so miserably. He failed his mama. Is there anything worse for a tech bro? The company was set up in November 2022 by Sean Cook, a software engineer. Sean Cook, a boy who said he was inspired to create tea after witnessing his mother's online dating experience. He told Medium in May, quote, "I was shocked by how easy it was for catfish scammers and criminals to take advantage of women on dating apps." Yeah, it is amazing how easy it is for complete and utter bastards to take advantage of women on these dating apps. He was like, I was surprised how easy it was to take advantage of these women. And then that's when I came up with the design for my app. To take advantage of women on dating apps and how little traditional dating apps do to protect users. Oh, do traditional dating apps not protect users well enough? Great. You just created a honeypot. So anyways, that is the latest thing that's currently going on with the T app. And you know, it is as it is. When I look at the app, when I look at what they're talking about the app, I do think this is an interesting concept with the whole idea of what does open source intelligence look like in the 2020s and the 2030s, right? We talk about things like intelligence services in the past, and we have a lot of people trying to go after Nazis, right? Let's out all the Nazis. And then once you out all the Nazis, then the other side wants to out all the BLM, protesters or whatever. And then you do that, and then it gets into, Israel and IDF soldiers being doxxed and that type of stuff. And that gets into all of its own thing. What I do think is kind of interesting, though, is once the cost of these services come down to such a degree, that whole idea, what happens when we democratize intelligence services to the point anybody can essentially have an intelligence organization? At that point, what does intelligence collection actually start to look like? The idea of having women be able to create databases of men and then basically crowdsource the vetting of men. And then, what is the next step past that? The interesting thing here, too, with this particular story is the whole idea of that this system was completely compromised, right? The system was compromised. They talk about security. They put all this horse shit, they put all this horse shit into what they say their security is, and then they fail absolutely miserably. And surprise, 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 a piece of shit tech bro does not take responsibility for their abject failure, right? The white knight failed to do the bare minimum to keep women protected, and now he's spinning a story. And so that's the other thing to be thinking about here too, is any of these services you use, you cannot trust. Distrust, verify, stay suspicious. As I've said, I had got my criminal justice degree back in like 99, 2000. And I went through an electronic crimes class, 3-credit hour class back in 97, 98, whatever it was. And the interesting thing was, my professor then, this was before Facebook and Twitter and YouTube or MySpace or Friendster or any of this crap, right? In the late 90s, my professor literally said that when you communicate online, you should go by the New York Times rule. Anything you feel comfortable putting on the front page of the New York Times is what you should communicate online. If you do not feel comfortable with that, you should not communicate it online. And that was the advice I was given before social media existed. So it's just kind of one of those things to be thinking about. When you see these sites and they say they don't log or they promise security or whatever else, think long and hard about how comfortable you feel actually putting your information on these sites or these platforms, because this is the kind of horse crap that, yeah, no shit. I'm surprised it happened. So anyways, there you go. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you hate this video, give us a thumbs down. Leave us a great comment or a horrible comment. It is the modern world of social media. All that matters is that interaction. Also, silicondojo.com. If you have not been to it, we are having fireside chats. We are having a co-founder and CTO of an integrations company on for a fireside chat next week. We're going to be talking about integrating AI into an actual system. We'll learn how that goes. And then the week after, we are having the VP for AI models at IBM. He is actually going to be on the show. So that will be the week after. So if you're interested in those, go to silicondojo.com, become a member, sign up to see a fireside chat, listen to what other people are talking about. And with that, see y'all later.